Hi, I'm Jaleh Shea, and I'm with the Chesapeake Planning Department. And today I'm going to be answering two questions that we received from the community. The first is, with all the new development going on in the city, what's the plan for farming? Will Chesapeake name the southern part of the city as a green space to preserve the open space and allow wild animals to keep their homes? And the second question I'm going to answer is, what are the expansion plans into southern Chesapeake and the Grassfield area? Both of these are related to each other, so I'm going to answer them simultaneously. So there's development actually occurring throughout the city. We have a lot of development happening in Western Branch along the Portsmouth Boulevard corridor. We have some really exciting projects that are occurring in the South Norfolk area of the city. And a lot of people are aware of the Summit Point development that's happening in Greenbrier. But all of these plans and all this development are guided by the city's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is essentially the city's master plan for where development will occur. But in addition to where it is, the comp plan also says how it will happen, when it will happen, and some of the details of how things will occur. The plan is used not only by the city to guide development decisions, but it's also used by the business community and developers to help them to know where it is that the city would like to see development occurring. This that you see here, this is the city's 2035 land use plan, and it's probably the most visible element of the comprehensive plan. This map shows the physical layout of the city and answers the question of where development is going to occur. And what it does is it divides the entire 353 square miles of the city into various land use categories that are organized by overlays. We call them planning overlays, and we have three of them. One is the urban overlay, which is located in the northern part of the city. And then we have the suburban overlay, which runs pretty much to the middle. This is the Fentress area, and this is a Great Bridge here, moving out to the Grassfield area, and then up into Western Branch. That's all in the suburban overlay. And then everything below that to the south is in the rural overlay. The comprehensive plan basically gives guidance that we're going to be looking at infill development and redevelopment in the areas in the urban overlay. And then the suburban overlay is an area where we also will have infill development, but that is an area where we will see new development occurring as well. And then everything to the southern part of the city in the rural overlay is designated mostly for open space and agricultural types of uses and things that might be associated with supporting an agricultural type of land use pattern. So getting specifically to those two questions about those two areas of the city, the first one was about the Grassfield area, which is here. And Grassfield provides the link between what we would consider to be the Great Bridge area and the Deep Creek area of the city. And in the middle here in Grassfield, we have a special planning area or a special plan that actually was adopted. It's called the Dominion Boulevard Corridor Study. So everywhere that you see this hatch mark is that area that's the Dominion Boulevard Corridor Plan. That plan calls for, there are more specifics to it than just this land use. This land use plan is sort of has a generic sort of designation on it. But there are specific land uses that are in the plan for everything within this hatched area. And it includes residential development, commercial development, and some industrial development as well. There are also plans in there for parks, open space, trails, and connectivity, all within this master plan. And the idea is that this plan is taking advantage of the Route 17 Dominion Boulevard corridor, which runs down here. This development is right on that suburban overlay line, which is this purple line here on the map. So everything to the south of that line is in the rural overlay, and everything to the north is in the suburban overlay. So it does make kind of a stark contrast between where the two meet. But the idea is that we're directing development into this key area as a preservation technique, as odd as that may sound, to further encroachment into the southern part of the city. So basically, this is what's planned for what you would say the Grassfield area. Superimposed on top of this land use plan is also the master transportation plan. And you can see where there's a whole network of roads that are planned to be built out in this area to provide a lot of connectivity throughout the area. The southern part of the city, which was the second or first question that I had, is, as I said, is designated for rural and open space types of uses. And so everywhere that you see the white land use is a rural agricultural type of land use designation. The green areas that you see are conservation corridors, and these provide wildlife connectivity for between the Great Dismal Swamp, which is right here, and going down further into the Northwest River. There are other corridors that are there for the wildlife that exist. In fact, there are even places along Route 17 where there are points that were incorporated into the road project to allow bears and other animals to be able to get to the other side of the road. We also have the Dismal Swamp Canal Trail Park Recreation Facility that runs along the old road bed for Route 17 and the new road for 17. That creates a buffer and a protective barrier, if you will, between the areas to the east and the Great Dismal Swamp. You do see development occurring in this area, even though it's not an area that we're planning for development, because you can see we have all these bright colors to the north, but in the south it's planned to remain agriculture. The development that you do see happening in the area is what we would call by right development. And that's development where there's existing zoning in place and the people who own the property are choosing to develop consistent with that zoning. However, we do have other protective measures in place that prohibit that development from going beyond a certain point. For example, the area in the southern part of the city is mostly zoned A1, agricultural district, although there is some other R15 residential zoning that it strips out some of the roads, and that's usually where you'll see the houses that are being constructed down there. But our codes and ordinances prohibit major subdivision activity from taking place in an A1 zoning. So any major development would need to come in and would need to get a rezoning through city council, and there would be public hearings and that sort of thing. However, as I said, major subdivision activity is not supported in the rural overlay. To support that, we have a whole series of other policies that are built into our comprehensive plan to try to regulate this and be mutually supportive in terms of meeting those goals of open space protection. For example, one of the elements of the comp plan is the public utilities franchise area, and that is an area that that is a policy that directs where public water and sewer will be extended into the city. That boundary for the public utility franchise area is actually the suburban overlay boundary line. So it is the city's policy not to run water and sewer beyond this line. So that helps to contain the development into the northern part of the city. We also have some programs that are designed to give property owners the opportunity to sell off their development rights on their property, because remember I said there was some by right development that's out there, and we have the Open Space and Agricultural Preservation Program, which is a opportunity for property owners to sell their development rights to the city, and we'll purchase them if we have the funds available. It is a competitive process, but we will buy those properties, either buy them outright or buy the development right from them. And then that's a way that the farmers can continue to farm the property, but we don't have to worry about them turning into residential uses or other uses going forward. We also partner with the military because they have some assets in our rural overlay to help them protect their facilities from encroachment, and they partner with us financially and also by placing easements on some of the properties around their facilities, which tends to protect the open space as well. Specifically, we have the Northwest facility here in the southern part of the city, and we also have the Fentress Airfield, and both of those have programs associated with them to protect encroachment. Another ordinance that we actually have that helps to protect this area is the Northwest River Watershed Ordinance, and that's actually designed to protect our drinking water supply, which the Northwest River is one of our drinking water supplies. So there's an ordinance that provides additional regulation and oversight for any development that occurs in the rural area of the city to try to discourage anything that might be a potential impact to our drinking water supply. So all of these programs together work together to try to protect this area and keep it rural. But we do recognize that there's often pressures that come from a lot of our transportation improvements. We have two major transportation corridors that move into the southern part of the city. One is, of course, here, Route 17, which I've already talked about a little bit. But over here is the Chesapeake Expressway in the 168 corridor. Whenever you have good access from a transportation standpoint, that increases the pressure for there to be development. And recognizing that that pressure does exist, we also have another policy called the Transportation Corridor Overlay District, or the TCOD, as it's more commonly known. And that policy actually discourages development from occurring along these corridors, except at strategic locations that we refer to as target areas. So there are certain places where we would want to see the development to go, and the reverse of that is that there are other areas that we don't want it to occur. But regardless, the TCOD policy provides a lot of design guidelines and a lot of guidance in terms of how development should happen when it does happen. One of the more notable target areas of the TCOD policy is the area around Edinburgh, here in the Hillcrest Parkway. As you can see, because this is one of the areas where we have development that does dip down a bit into the rural overlay. And this is one of those target areas that's consistent with the Transportation Corridor Overlay District. I think just about covers most of the issues that are here. But we do have a lot of maps and we have a lot of resources that are available to the public. They're all available on the city's website, as well as my staff is actually available to answer questions too if you would like to call the planning department.